Hi subscribers and welcome back to the channel. Today we have Mr. Jonathan Laws joining us again from Greenwich. Good morning, John. How are you?
Morning, Dom. Yeah, I'm good, thanks. It's a lovely, ridiculously foggy day today in London. But yeah, not bad at all.
Very good. So, John, today we're going to be talking about Brite Advisors USA assets segregation. So, my first question is, can you clarify the current situation regarding the segregation of Brite USA client funds?
So, obviously, one of the big overarching themes has been, we've got all these funds, the receivers have kind of hammered home the point and everything they've put out, all the communications they've had to everyone, that these are, what they've called as commingled funds, which is basically, they're all kind of sloshed all together. There is kind of no segregation. This is yours, this is yours. You're all kind of in one giant pot with all kind of your names attached to those segments of the pot within it. So there hasn't been any kind of like clear delineation between this is Brite USA, this is Brite South Africa, this is Brite Australia, blah, blah, blah. It's all kind of like you're all in it together kind of thing.
Okay, understood. And what would you say, what evidence do the receivers have to support their claim that the funds are not segregated?
Well, essentially, I take the reverse. In fact, they haven't really had any evidence to suggest otherwise. Brite USA at the beginning of February, I believe it was, went to the courts with the receivers to try and argue that they had successfully, back in, I believe, 2021, segregated, or at least deigned to segregate the Brite USA assets from the rest of the Brite entity or Brite group assets, and that's obviously been something that's been pushed very hard. There's been a lot of kind of updates provided, hello from the CEO letters from Brite USA saying, hey, we think that your assets aren't under this, and you don't have any kind of issues to worry about, because obviously the big problem they're thinking of is all these kind of unsecured, or not unsecured, but margin loans are secured against your funds when they're trying to argue otherwise. But whilst Brite might have had some documentation where they said, hey, please segregate these, and they might have thought themselves, and they might, very well, if not probably, think, yeah, these are segregated, there is nothing to actually indicate, as far as the receivers have confirmed, to indicate that these actually have been segregated. And it's a little bit like, right, if you didn't document it, if it didn't have any proof, then it didn't happen. And that's effectively the situation we're in. The receiver kind of came back very quickly and said, right, no, these funds are all commingled, there hasn't been any segregation, and we will treat you all as one giant kind of entity.
Okay, understood. And was there a new account opened with Interactive Brokers in June 2021 involving Brite USA client funds?
Yeah, so this seems to have been brought about by some sort of chats with various regulators. There was also something similar that happened at some point with UK-based assets as well. But effectively, yes, they did open a new account in June 2021, I believe it was, where a certain segment of the funds were moved over. Vast majority of that was US-based assets. But, and they're trying to argue, or Brite USA, as they were trying to argue that this is us, moving the funds over. These are now segregated now. None of the loans are written against or secured against any of these funds, and this is a clear segregation. However, what you've had is the receivers have basically said, yes, that was really just kind of, kind of superficial. There wasn't actually really any kind of like breakup or structuring changes. It was just kind of, taking one part, putting it in two, and there was no real difference. So whilst that was the case, it doesn't look like it's actually created any sort of clean break, and it looks like the funds are still commingled. And obviously there's also been, one of the things they've mentioned in several of the reports is that, yes, this did happen, and the idea was it was supposed to be mainly Brite US clients, but from their analysis, it looks like actually quite a lot of these funds they moved over weren't all Brite US clients. There was actually non-US clients funds originally transferred over. So, the argument of trying to say, hey, look, we've created a clear break here, this is all US assets, doesn't really hold up, certainly from the receiver's point of view, from what I've read. because the original amount that transferred over had non-US, Brite US clients funds in it in the first place. So it was hardly a clean break if from the off you already created another commingled account. It's quite an hard argument to make, and that seems to be the case from the receiver's point of view as well.
Interesting. So what do you think this means for Brite USA clients and those clients outside of the USA who have obviously gone onto the Brite platform?
Well, obviously, it might still continue to go on. Obviously, the other week or a few weeks ago, Brite USA had a summary judgment against them for not being able to have legal representation. So we don't really know the status of Brite USA, whether they're ready, they can continue to defend this or fight this or whatever. But essentially, there are a lot of people we spoke to, a lot of comments we've seen for various conversations and whatnot, trying to argue or thinking to themselves, having this false hope that potentially, I say false, it could be true eventually, although unlikely, that their funds would not be subject to all these talks of margin loans and missing funds and stuff, that maybe somehow they had escaped that. But what it looks like is that is not the case, and that whether you're Brite US, Brite South Africa, Brite Australia, wherever, and other entities dealing with perhaps EU or UK clients, that you are all going to be in the same boat and kind of at the same hierarchy when it comes to recovery. And then obviously from a non-Brite US point of view, a bit not the nicest feeling in the world to have to say, although financially it's good. You are in a position where you're not going to be further harmed financially, because obviously if the Brite assets were segregated, this 70 million, potentially higher figure that's missing, that could be a higher percentage of your pot if you took out the Brite US assets, which obviously a very substantial portion. So Brite US clients unhappy because it means that the missing money is probably going to apply to them. Non-Brite US clients happy because it means the haircut, or eventually they're going to have to take, if that's obviously what happens, is going to be substantially smaller.
Okay, understood. And with the situation where there being sort of no major updates or things seemingly unchanged, what do you recommend clients do in the interim period?
Yeah, so obviously, we have our own kind of big update coming up in the next week or two, trying to, put together all the kind of latest developments. Our kind of overarching theme is, we speak to a lot of people who are kind of like, oh, surely this is done now, can't be long. Our kind of view is, and I say this from experience of having worked in liquidations before, these things take a lot longer than you think they do. There are so many moving parts, and ultimately, there are a lot of things you have to sort out before you can actually even think about, repatriating money to clients, which is obviously horrible. We've got clients in, precarious positions and all sorts of things, and it is kind of really distressing. But, you've got to kind of set those expectations, that, it could be 12, 18, 24 months, you just don't know. And it's using this opportunity you have now, especially for those of you in QOps clients, which are potentially, there are more limitations on who will work with you and options you have, to use it as an opportunity to do due diligence, find an advisor, find someone to keep you sane, for want of a better, what the phraseology, over this period, to say, right, yes, we know all these, we've got all these issues, we know it's going to be a while, we know I'm going to have a big haircut on my funds, we know this, we know that, but I would just like to get to myself in a position where, I found someone I trust. Obviously you don't probably have you've got, a lot of people don't not necessarily the most trusting on financial advisors. So you go, here you go, here's a good long period of time to build up your trust. Do all your due diligence, build that relationship, figure out what you're going to do, get yourself in a position that when you can do it, when you can action it, whether that's a new scheme, new platform, whatever, again, your proper ongoing financial planning, you could do all of that. And obviously one of the big overarching themes, we've taken away from a lot of dealing with Brite clients is that many of them, it really was investment focused. It was like, we're looking at the UK based investments or QOps based investments. We're not really looking at your other bits and pieces. We're not looking at the broader picture. We're not doing cash flow model financial planning. A lot of clients don't know what their social security is, or they don't know what their UK state pension is. all these kind of basic things that the real financial plan will be doing with you. And you never know, there might be other things you could be doing, really good, strong financial planning you could be doing, in the background, whilst you're waiting for all of the UK side of things or the EU side of things from a QOP's point of view to resolve, and you'll be able to access those funds. So yeah, it's kind of keep calm, use it as an opportunity, don't do anything rash, find your advisor, the same old caveats and warnings apply, don't work with anyone who cold calls you. I hopefully you've kind of learned that lesson by now, we hope. But yeah, use it as an opportunity to do all your due diligence, find some options and kind of go from there. Yeah.
Okay, very good. And just in general, John, what would you say your experience in dealing with clients who have been involved in this? What's kind of like the general thoughts and feelings that you're getting from them when you're having meetings and conversations with them?
Well, it's kind of either, there's really two camps you typically find. You've got the one which I kind of find surprising, which is good because this is what I'd be preaching, which is the kind of, what will be, it is what it is. I'll let what comes to me. There's not much I can do now. Don't cry over spilt milk and let's make the best of a bad situation. And then you've got the kind of, the other camp, which is what, you would normally, which you kind of, not shocked by, which is the kind of the anger, the frustration, how did this happen, and all of that. So that those are the kind of two kind of camps you found. Hopefully, we can kind of transition you into the first one I mentioned, where you kind of right, this is what I've got to do. Talk you off the ledge. Reduce your blood pressure a little bit. Yes, there will be some, you might have your day in court, you might have this and the other, but obviously the fundamental thing is we need to do for you is get you the peace of mind and security and making sure all your funds are safe, and you know what to do with them, and all the other stuff will kind of flow from that. But, it's kind of focus on the main thing, which is, keep getting the money safe, peace of mind for yourself and your family. Those are the two types of main camps, and it's pretty it's pretty divisive when you see that. Those are the two camps.
All right, thank you very much. Well, obviously this is a developing topic, and we'll be continuing to keep you updated, viewers. If you have any specific questions about Brite or anything like that, please feel free to let us know in the comment section below, and myself and Jonathan will respond personally. Otherwise, we look forward to speaking with you soon. And Jonathan, thank you for your time this morning, and have a good one.
Yeah, more than welcome.
All right, thanks guys, speak soon. Bye-bye.